Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Fantasy Sports Review. I'm your host, Rob Castro. Before we get started introducing our guests today on the show, I'd like to thank Steve Mullins again, directing the show. Steve's been doing a fantastic job just behind the scenes. Love to give him a great shout out. So there you go, Steve. Keep rocking. Before we get started, guys, what an awesome 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. Before we get into that, though, I just want to say that I won a bunch of money by, picking the Patriots to beat the Broncos. I mean, that was probably one of the easiest bets ever. So before we get started into our show, I'd like to introduce our guest, Phil Hargis, who usually always directs and hosts our show, and Clara Markowski. Clara, she still owes me some money. She says that we didn't bet the game, but we have to rewind the tapes and see if that actually happened. But
we'll bet a bar tab, which is more fun.
yeah, exactly. We'll do the bar tab. But guys, I mean, what do you think, man? There were some awesome games on Saturday and Sunday. No one saw the Niners beating the Saints. None of us. Maybe this guy.
I did have that game, by the way.
Okay.
On the record, Clara can
We
certainly
had that bet
attest
on
to
air.
that.
But you guys also like the Tim Tebow show and what happened?
Where are you trying to put words in my mouth, dude? I had Brady in that one, too. Little Miss Tebow got Tebow her T-shirt over
Guys,
here.
let's go in order.
She's not wearing
Let's
that
talk about
tonight.
the
Yeah,
San
she's got this
Francisco
little
New
purple
Orleans
thing
game
going on.
first. But that was a great game. I had a lot of fun watching it with you.
It was. It was really a lot of fun.
Bet, and it came down to the wire. It was an awesome game, and all in all, it came down to the Saints D losing it for him. I mean, Drew Brees in the offense. Drew Brees threw for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. He can't do it all. He had a couple mistakes here and there, but all in all, it was the defense, and that's why Greg Williams is not on the New Orleans Saints anymore.
Yeah, exactly right. And Phil, I mean, you called it, man. The Houston Texans taking the Baltimore Ravens down to the wire. I mean, great game. We would have loved to have seen the Texans win that game outright, but, I mean, unbeknownst to us, T.J. Yates couldn't get it done in the last 2 minutes. But at least he still had a chance to win that ball game, or to at least tie the game.
He did. I was really disappointed that even despite all the mistakes he made that entire game, the 3 just horrible interceptions. I mean, the whole tone was set in that game when Jacoby Jones fumbled that punt at the start of the game. After a great defensive stop, Houston had gone down the field, scored some points. They were going to get the ball back and really had a chance to put Baltimore in a little bit of a hole there. And Jacoby Jones just, he does stupid stuff. He just does another one of his stupid things. He fumbles that punt and gives the Ravens the ball on like the 5-10 yard line, and they go in there and get some easy points. You just can't make those kinds of mistakes. I mean, if you got a rookie quarterback, you can't have your punt return making mistakes like that.
Yeah, you're right. And the one thing we saw on Saturday and Sunday were turnovers. I mean, obviously, whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win the game. And we saw it in the first game against the Saints. Saints had 5 turnovers. I mean, that's, to put your team like that, especially on special teams with Darren Sproles fumbling that punt. And what the heck is that one guy doing on kickoff returns, Williams? Guys, hasn't even had a kickoff return all season long. They stick him back there, and what happens? He fumbles. I mean, that's what's going to happen. But you got to credit the 49ers defense. Played great. Real stout. Stout, my new favorite word.
Kind of like the Detroit running game.
It's a shame too, and back to the Baltimore-Houston game. Jacoby Jones definitely sent the predecessor with the turnover and set Baltimore up with the score. But I believe if T.J. Yates, he's a rookie quarterback. You can tell he's a rookie quarterback. But if Matt Schaub was in the game, because Houston shut him down in the second half, if Matt Schaub was playing, I think they would have won, no question.
The game was so close that there's no doubt that if Schaub was in there, that they would have won that game. I mean, he's just, there's no comparison between Matt Schaub and a rookie quarterback like T.J. Yates.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then the second game, New England put it on full throttle in the first half. They were up 35-7. Obviously didn't look back. And Clara, I'm sorry that Tim Tebow did not beat the Patriots. I mean, it is kind of a shame. But what do you got to say? Guy throws 6 touchdown passes. Gronkowski catches 3. They don't need a running game, apparently. I mean, when you got those kind of numbers.
I mean, records were set all game. I didn't watch them, but I heard about them being set. I mean, after, it was 28-7, turn it off, and it's, 35, and then 45.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good game.
Well, it goes to show you that.
Probably to a Patriots fan, it was a good game.
Oh, yeah, right. It was. But it goes to show you how well a team can playing at home in the playoffs as opposed to playing on the road. I mean, Denver came out flat. You have Aaron Hernandez running the ball, 5 rushes for 61 yards. I mean, come on, Denver defense. What if the guys in the backfield, there's going to be a run or something, they're not going to throw it to him out of the flats. I mean, you know what I mean? And to see that time after time, I mean, that 45-yard run in the first quarter kind of set up the whole entire game for them.
It was complete and utter domination. You just never know what the New England Patriots are going to throw at you in any game plan they bring to the table. I mean, they may come out this weekend and rush the ball for 200 yards with Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. I mean, against Baltimore, there's no telling what they're going to do. I mean, it's just Bill Belichick is always the element of surprise.
Yeah, they're right, and great minds think alike because he does like to change things up. So against Baltimore, they're going to have to establish the run or pass first. So who knows? It's gonna be a crazy game.
We'll break it down.
Yeah, we'll take it.
We'll
talk about it
definitely
later.
break it down.
The next two slated games on Sunday. We just talked about the Texans Ravens. Well, let's talk about that Giants Packers game. I mean, no one saw that coming. A 37. I know. I shouldn't say that. Phil did. Phil saw it coming because he told me right before the game the Giants were going to win. They were a lock, is what he said. But the Giants. I mean, Eli Manning, man, they're riding that momentum off that Dallas Cowboys victory late in November. Heck of a game.
They're following the right model. I mean, they're banged up at the start of the year. They get healthy as the year goes on. They play inconsistently, and then they kind of start gelling at the right time of the year when you want to start getting hot. Their defense showed up and just basically shut down Green Bay, one of the most potent offenses in the entire NFL. I mean, this game should be a piece of cake for them comparatively. I mean, if their offense can fire and they can play defense like they played on Sunday. San Francisco could have some problem, but we'll get into those matchups later.
And I mean, I agree with you. Like, I do think that the New York Giants, they played an awesome game. They've been doing so well. But you have to look at Green Bay and all the mistakes they made, all the drop passes, Aaron Rodgers fumbling, Ryan Grant fumbling, and then you have to look at the coaching and what they're doing by benching Aaron Rodgers the last game of the season in the third quarter, and then they're number one in their seed, so they have all those bye weeks, and ultimately it goes back to resting that. They're not in their consistency. They're not winning. They're not playing. So yeah, they're gonna they're off and they're gonna be cold and they're not going to be playing the game that they ever used to playing.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, you play the guy, you risk the injury, or you bench the guy and you risk those kinds of inexplicable mistakes happening.
Sure, yeah, I've seen it as a Pats fan with Wes Welker going down Week 17 2 years ago against the Texans, and then the Patriots lose to the Ravens that day. That next.
Well, the Patriots could be up by 50 points and they're still going to play all their starters.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't bench them, period.
Well, exactly, and then it showed against the Broncos. They're up 45-10.
And
Tom
Bill
Brady's
Belichick
punting
doesn't bench
on
him.
third
Yeah.
down. Tom Brady's punting the football on third down. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So to go back, and then you want to talk about the New England defense. I think Bill Belichick's got a great. Like I said, he's a football guy. He doesn't show off too much in the regular season, I think, because he's got this glamour about his aura about him in the playoffs where he kind of does the unthinkable and blitzes 9-10 guys when they know Tim Tebow is going to run the ball. Sort of like what the Steelers should have done all game long, put pressure on the guy and to make him make a bad throw instead of playing back because he can beat you. So they learned that mistake against watching the Steelers on film, and what happened was Patriots gave up 10 points and no one's talking about their bad defense anymore.
All right, real quick, guys, I'm going to put you both on the spot. Most memorable play from last weekend. Robbie, you go first.
Best play from last
Most
weekend.
memorable play from last
had to
weekend.
have been the Vernon Davis second down play against the Niners. I was going to say Jimmy Graham, but I think that Alex Smith to Vernon Davis, not the catch, but the one before that.
Oh, wow. Not the bootleg. What about you?
Hands down, the Hakeem Nicks Hail Mary. They were talking about on
That was
ESPN. What was better, the Cincinnati Simpson, flip, or the Hakeem Nicks pass?
Inexplicably, we're going to go through our fantasy draft standings or fantasy results from last weekend. Hakeem Nicks was undrafted by any of us. How did that happen?
I don't know.
Victor Cruz was drafted, but nobody drafted Hakeem Nicks. I drafted Lance Moore, who didn't even play in the game.
Clara took Demaryius Thomas, so.
Yeah, she was riding with her Tebow buzz after she drafted Tebow in the first round.
Guys, I drafted with my heart.
We had some pretty high-scoring games, you guys. All of our teams put up 120 to 150 points. That's pretty good, considering we only had such a thin roster. We had all the top quarterbacks out there. Breeze did well for you, and so did most of your Saints, but of course they're done.
They're out.
So you have nothing to say about that. So you got remaining with you for your team. You have
Victor Cruz. I need him to score 150 points.
Yeah, because McGahee and those 150 points. You can catch up. I have Tom Brady, so I'm always in the game with that guy, and Wes Welker and Gostkowski, so I'll continue to accumulate points. They may struggle a little bit this weekend with Baltimore, so I may not get a lot out of them. Robbie, tell us about how your team worked out.
You know what? And going into this, I was like, I'm just gonna go as far-fetched as possible. Taking Eli Manning, I knew he was gonna have a good game. I didn't know they were gonna beat the Packers, but I knew that he'd come out and maybe throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. I knew it would be a high-scoring game. But taking Gronkowski, that was a no-brainer. I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. We saw in the regular season how well this guy's been playing. 3 touchdown catches. Guy's an absolute animal. Cannot be stopped. I would love for the Ravens to double team him.
Yeah, I mean, you I was kind of making fun of you on the show last week because you were taking like a player from every team, but at the time you were just drafting like basically the best available player, which is
That's
there's
that's
something
what
to be
we have
said
to
for
do.
that, you know. And Doug is unavailable to join us on Skype due to some technical difficulties tonight. Doug's screwed. He did have Vernon Davis, who got him a nice 37 points. Rodgers, one and done. He'll have Gore, who will continue to accumulate points, but Gore and Davis and the Ravens defense isn't going to be nearly enough to help to catch up against Robbie and his all-star roster of players you have there on that team. So, Robbie, it's looking like you have this thing wrapped up.
Congratulations, Robbie.
Brady can keep me in this thing, especially if Manning loses, but we shall see. In the meantime, we do have to find out what the weather is going to be like on these games that we're going to start breaking down here when we come back from the weather break. So we do have Nikki Grant standing by in the Weather Center. So let's go back to her and see what she has to say about this game's, the weather and the games coming this weekend. Take it away, Nick.
Hello, boys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Sports Review Weather Center. Stop, collaborate, and listen. I'm Nikki Grant, back with a brand new invention. Weather grabs a hold of me tightly. I flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock the weather like a vandal. Light up the stage and wax a chump like a candle. But enough about me. Thanks for joining me for the second to last forecast of the season. Last weekend was upset central with two of the league's most highly anticipated teams, the Packers and Saints, both getting dropped like a guy hitting on me in a bar. And this weekend will determine which two teams will face off in this year's greatest sporting event. No, not the Fairfax County Female Jello Wrestling Championships, the Super Bowl, silly. Who will we be watching February 5th? You'll have to tune in this weekend to find out. Let's take a look to see if the weather will be a factor in these upcoming games. Our first game is a battle to answer the age-old question, which wins more games, offense or defense? The Patriots' mind-blowing offense hosts the Ravens' bone-crushing defense this weekend in Foxborough. Tom Brady's offense, in all his, its beauty, handed Tim Tebow and the Broncos a good old-fashioned butt spanking last Saturday, much to the delight of atheists everywhere. The Ravens, however, were less than exciting in their close victory over the Texans. Will Ray Lewis and his band of murderers be able to stab out an upset against the Gronk Nation? Or will Flacco go flaccid against one of the league's worst defenses? Only time will tell, and the weather could play a role as we're looking at temps in the low 30s with a chance of sleet or snow in the great Northeast. Sounds exciting. Our second game is an East Coast-West Coast showdown that would make Tupac and Biggie Smalls proud as the ferocious 49ers open their gates to the New York Giants. The 49ers pulled off a huge upset in one of the most exciting and memorable games this century with a last-second victory over the Saints. And while much less exciting, the Giants went into Green Bay hungry for cheese and came out as one of the only two teams to defeat the defending champion Packers this season. The Giants will have their hands full this week, though, with both the 49ers offense and league-leading defense firing on all cylinders. Will the Giants pull off another road upset, or will the 49ers candlestick it to the underdog New Yorkers? We'll find out Sunday evening, and while temperatures will be pretty mild in the upper 40s at Alcatraz come game time, San Francisco is looking to make it rain like Saturday night at Camelot. So let's hope these receivers remember their stick-'em. Well, that does it for me this week. Once again, thanks for joining me. Have some interesting perspectives on this week's games? Let me hear about them at Nikki@fantasyreview.com. Can't wait to hear from each and every one of you. Thanks for joining me in the Fantasy Sports Review Weather Center. Now back to the crew in the studio. Bye.
Nikki, thanks so much for the weather. And guys, it looks like it's going to be kind of crappy in
It's going to
San
be cold.
Francisco.
But I want to know when Nikki learned how to rap like that.
Oh, man.
Ice, baby.
Jeez. Yeah, it's definitely going to be cold. But hey, guys, we want to talk about these games. And on first on the slate is Baltimore at New England. And this is a rematch of 2009. 2010, I should say, when Ray Rice, on his first carry of the afternoon, goes 80 yards and spelled doom for the Patriots that day.
And they were huge underdogs in that game. And, Baltimore is a team that certainly needs to use Ray Rice in this matchup to have any shot to beat the New England Patriots. They have to keep Brady and that lethal offense off the field as much as possible. Ray Rice was not nearly the factor last weekend that I thought he'd be. Houston certainly had his number, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Claire, what's one of the keys you think that for Baltimore to win this game, what do they have to do?
I think that it ultimately depends on Flacco versus Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is clearly the better quarterback. I think Flacco needs to step up. He did step up against the Texans, but clearly Baltimore was the better team. Baltimore's defense is on point. Their running game is excellent. I think it just depends on Joe Flacco and if he wants to come to play or not.
Well, he's made some impressive. He's had some impressive road victories behind his belt this season. Faced a lot of pressure too in the media. This
But they've
week.
struggled on the road too, though.
But they have, and you're right. Against
really
Jacksonville,
struggled
they
on the
lost. They lost some really
bad
easy
teams,
games.
yeah.
But then they go to
They almost lost to Arizona. They've
right.
struggled.
They went to Pittsburgh and they beat them. They beat Pittsburgh twice this year. But again, for the Ravens to do well, Flacco has to step up.
But the Denver Broncos also beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, so
Oh,
you
man.
can't really go off of that.
That is true. So what Claire is trying to say
A
is
very
that
injury-riddled Pittsburgh Steelers team.
All I'm saying is I'd rather have Tom Brady as my quarterback than Joe Flacco.
well, that's gonna be tough. And you know what? If that's the case, Joe Flacco needs to come to play, and he needs to just tune out all of his critics and play a turnover-free game. You give the Patriots a short field to work with, you know it's going to happen.
The Baltimore Ravens are a much, much better team than the Denver Broncos are. So I think that, if they can expose New England's defense for what they are, the worst defense in the NFL, and they can get into a shooting match with New England. I don't think they can put up 45 or 55 points if New England's going to try to pull one of those stunts again. But I think that if it ends up being like a 38-31 game, then I think the Ravens can stay in this thing. And they really need to have a lower scoring game. They need to kind of keep this game in the 20s with a healthy dose of Ray Rice to win this for sure. I mean, if Ray Rice can have his big game, 150, 200 yards of all-purpose offense, then that could spell trouble for the New England Patriots. I mean, I really do believe that at the end of the day, that somehow when the dust settles, they kept saying it last weekend over and over again. That was the only thing they could come up with for Baltimore. They seem to be a team of destiny this year, and it does, for whatever reason, it seems to be Baltimore's year. I mean, New England's a damn good team, and they usually seem to come prepared for these games. And especially if there's any precipitation out there on the field. I mean, Brady thrives in these kinds of games. I mean, he's a tough quarterback to beat. So if Baltimore goes out and wants to beat them, they're going to need to play a damn near perfect game with a lot of Ray Rice and maybe make New England make a couple of
New England is
uncharacteristic
just
mistakes.
so deep on their receiver roster too. Double team Gronkowski. There's Hernandez. There's Welker. There's Deion Branch. There's so many guys that Tom Brady has to throw to.
Well, I think the Ravens are kind of a little deep on their roster. They got Bolden. They've got
Torrey Smith.
Torrey Smith has stepped up this year, and even Lee Evans was making plays last weekend.
Yeah, right.
And Ed Dixon's a decent tight end.
He's not bad. He's not
He's
bad.
not Gronkowski or Hernandez.
Yeah, that is true. Now, guys, if you were to talk about the one key guy in that game that's going to have a big time, that needs to play well in order for their team to win, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens and Phil.
It's Rice.
Who's going to have to do it?
Yeah, there's no doubt it's Rice. I mean, Rice. This game is all about Rice. Flacco can't go out there, and they can't depend on him to throw for 400 yards into a shootout match with Tom Brady. It has to be Ray Rice. I mean, I keep saying it over and over again. I keep harping on it, but that's what they need to do. They were unable to do that against the Houston Texans last game, but they still were able to prevail due to the inexperience of T.J. Yates and the mistakes of the Texans were making all over that field. But Ray Rice is going to have a big game. I think he will have a big game against that pathetic defense. I mean, they're going to be running against the New England Patriots defense. I mean, people are going to be able to tear those guys apart. The Ravens will be able to tear those guys apart. And, I think that the Baltimore comes in the mindset they can take the tight ends out of play for the New England Patriots and force them to go to Welker or somebody else to beat them and not lose the same death that all these other teams lose by getting blown out by Gronkowski and Hernandez. Then the Baltimore Ravens, that's the recipe to win. So hopefully they're watching this right now.
On the other hand, though, New England's defense is not that much pathetic anymore. They're playing for the AFC Championship. New Orleans Saints, on the other hand, that is a pathetic defense, and they lost. So their defense has definitely stepped up, and I agree with you. I think Ray Rice and Joe Flacco, they both need to step up to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest player in that game is Joe Flacco. He needs to step up and have a big game. And another X factor I can see for the New England Patriots is going to be Wes Welker. I mean, they keyed up on Wes Welker a couple times in that Broncos game, but it didn't matter because they found one-on-one coverage with Gronkowski. Tight ends for the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to step up in order for the Patriots for them to stop the Patriots. That means Terrell Suggs is now the AFC Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to have to make big plays out there. You're also talking about the front four getting some type of pressure on Tom Brady because he had none. He had all day to throw against the Denver Broncos. So that's going to be a huge, that'll be the tides right there. And if Haloti Ngata gets into that backfield on more than one occasion the first couple series and rattles Tom Brady, we're in for a long game. But if Tom's sitting back there, cool and collective, another story.
He's unbeatable if he's back there cool and collected.
So predictions of this game, guys. What do you think's going to happen? Phil?
I think Baltimore's got it. I think they've got it. I think they match up really, really well against New England. I think their defense will be able to force Brady into making a mistake or two. I hope that they're smart enough to try to give the ball to Ray Rice more than 12, 15 times like they seemed to last weekend. And they just feed him the ball. He's got to have, like one of the biggest games of his career in this game, and I think they're going to be ready for it. I think they're going to go up there on the road, and they're going to shock a lot of people by beating the New England Patriots, a team that people just don't give up on at this time of year. I feel very confident in this game.
And I'm going to have to disagree with you and go with the New England Patriots. I think they have this all the way. They'll be playing at home. Go New England.
I think you're right. I think New England wins this game. Not going to be by the type of margin they beat the Denver Broncos, obviously, but a much closer game. I see a field goal battle. I see maybe
Hopefully, I
Gostkowski
hope
winning
it's a
it
good
at the
game.
end.
I want to see a good game.
I think Gostkowski wins it. But Phil, I definitely think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. But switching gears, guys, the game Sunday night, the New York Giants head into San Francisco, uncharted territory. You got a rookie head coach and a quarterback that's never been in the spotlight like Alex Smith has before, going up against the New York Giants and all that momentum. I mean, guys, you look at this game on paper, week 7?
Nobody was expecting
The Giants
this game.
versus Niners, 27-20, Niners win. I think it's going to be a different game this go around. What do you think, Phil?
It has to be a better game. It will be a different game. The New York Giants are a completely different team than they were at that time of the year. I mean, San Fran is a better team now too. I mean, they're healthy now too. They've got Gore. They've got Alex Smith playing with all kinds of confidence last week. He's going out and running 30, 40-yard bootlegs for touchdowns against the Saints defense.
Which is not very hard to do.
Which is not very hard to do. I think Claire could probably go out there and run some naked bootlegs on the Saints defense.
Well, I don't know if she could do that, but
Yeah.
never underestimate Clara though. I mean, she did call that Tim Tebow party on against the Steelers. So.
And she knows how to do this too.
She can Tebow.
I do like Ken Tebow.
Claire,
It's fun.
what do you think? What do you think going into the game? What do the Giants need to do to beat San Fran at home?
I think it's going to come to 2 defensive games. Clear. I thought there was not a shot in hell that New Orleans was going to lose to 49ers, but clearly, I mean, it was defense. I'm a firm believer in defense wins games, and I think it's going to be another close game. 49ers, they came out to win. I mean, the pass to Vernon Davis, Frank Gore running all over the Saints. I mean, they came ready to win, and same with the Giants. They're no joke. The Hail Mary to Hakeem Nicks in the end zone, they're ready to go. I think it'll be another great game. I think this is the game to watch.
I think it's going to be tough for the New York Giants to go cross country, only because the Niners have been playing so well and so inspired under Jim Harbaugh. They really want to win for this guy. They really believe in his system, and I haven't seen a team like this since. I hate to say it, since the 2003 Patriots, when they beat the St. Louis Rams. No one gave them a shot, but they believed in their team, they believed in the system. You have guys like J.R. Redmond carrying the ball, Jermaine Wiggins. I mean, not household names. The Niners on defense, you have one player that's making all the stops, and Patrick Willis, but there's been Alden Smith, defensive rookie. He's got almost 15 sacks. You have Boyman playing out of his mind. You got guys, cornerbacks playing unreal, secondary playing great, and that's what's gonna. They have to take that to the New York Giants, because for the Giants to be successful, I know Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs need to do well, but it's also gonna have to rely on Victor Cruz, Hakeem Nicks getting the ball vertically down the field in sloppy conditions, because we heard Nikki saying in the weather report it's going to be kind of crappy out in San Francisco.
It seemed to me like the plays where the Saints were able to get touchdowns last week were kind of plays where the Saints defense slipped up, and those guys, or not the 49ers defense slipped up. Sproles slips through a crack, Graham slips through a crack. Otherwise, they crushed the Saints in that game. So, the 49ers, they've got all these S teams. The 49ers have to make sure they keep their guys. And so, how about the game that Justin Smith played?
Yeah.
That was remarkable.
13-year vet, right? He's playing like he's a rookie again with his motor running.
It was like you were playing left tackle against that guy, Boom, sacks him right between the defender, man. It was incredible.
I know.
I don't know how you want to go about attacking this. Obviously, they are vulnerable with some slip-ups in the secondary, but if you're Eli Manning, I think that's probably your best weapon. You probably want to go out there and try to beat him through the air rather than trying to hammer it down with the running backs, because they were pretty effective at stopping the running game of the Saints.
And 49ers are going to have a tough time because the Giants' D is a lot better than the Saints' D. And I got to say, I think that Eli Manning is a much better quarterback than Alex Smith. He's had more experience.
But maybe more mistake prone, though, because Alex Smith is very careful with not throwing interceptions. He doesn't throw a lot of balls. 4 interceptions this year?
Yeah, that's true. And Jim Harbaugh's taken his best plays that he's had throughout his career, and they worked on this over the offseason. They made him comfortable in an offense where he wasn't comfortable last year. So because he plays mistake-free football at home, that's only going to help their defense, and field position is going to be big in that game, guys.
Manning so far in the playoffs, so no mistakes either, though.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think these two games really come down to field goals. I mean, Claire, if we're going to predict a winner right now in that game, who do you have winning it?
49ers.
I think the 49ers. I think it's such a toss-up. I mean, if you have to pick somebody, you put it. But my brain tells me 49ers. My gut kind of tells me the Giants are going to pull this one out. I mean, they're heading in the right direction right now, man.
They're really hitting their stride.
playing
Everyone said that
well.
about the New Orleans Saints, but the Saints' defense wasn't there. The Giants, their defense has been out of control.
And they shut down the Falcons' offense, which is pretty good. I mean.
Yeah, you're right. And they peaked at the right, everyone wants to say the Saints peaked at the right time. The Giants sort of peaked at the right time in December.
The same model from a couple years ago. And actually, you referred to the 03 Patriots. Their model is just like that. I mean, mediocre defense, getting better at the right time, like the Patriots were that year, with a top 3 to 5 offense.
Sure. I'm going to take the Giants in this game, only riding momentum. Not to take away by the 49ers. They had a great season. One of the best defensive efforts, even though they gave up 32 points against the Saints. Still a great defensive effort nonetheless. I'm taking the Giants. I mean, guys, I like the Patriots and Giants for that rematch in 2008 when they went undefeated.
I'll take the Patriots 49ers.
Patriots and Niners. I'm going to go with the Harbaugh rematch from earlier this season, which is going to be San Francisco and Baltimore. I was kind of on that bandwagon like 5 or 6 weeks ago, and then both the 49ers and Baltimore kind of fell off. I'm going back to that now. I had told a lot of people, maybe on the show, that I thought that was going to be the Super Bowl prediction. Steve, our director tonight, he's got New England and the Giants facing off in the Super Bowl with New England winning. So we'll come back next week for our Super Bowl predictions after all the dust is settled. Clara, Robbie, it should be a great weekend of games.
I can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be great.
I can't wait either.
For Phil Harges, Claire Markowski, is Rob Casher signing off. Thanks again for watching Fantasy Sports Review.
Peace.